years of the 1920s, business was good. But towards the end of the 20s, the Great Depression began to settle in on the United States. A man came to my father, who was a Ford dealer in Perry, and said he would like to transport some workers from Perry to the cement plant, which was 6 miles below Perry, by the name of Clinchfield. My father was selling cars, and he didn't know anything about building a bus, but he knew of a company who had been making wagons for horses and buggies for 65 years, and he contacted them and said, "Can you build a bus that man can use to transport workers?" They said they could. So he sent a Ford chassis, and the man built a bus. Now, what material did he use? They used wood. Sent it back to Perry, and the man began transporting workers from Perry to Clinchfield, 6 or 7 miles. There were no paved roads. The roads were bumpy. The roads were muddy. And at the end of about 8 or 9 months, this body that was made out of wood began to shake apart. And my father said, "Bring it back to the Ford agency in Perry, and I will replace all the wood that has deteriorated or fallen apart." And he said, "I'll do it, no charge." And so as the man came to pick up his bus and start going again, as he got ready to drive out, he sort of pointed to his head and he said, "Luce, I believe you could make a better bus yourself." So he wanted to build a bus that would last a long time. It took him 2 years, experimenting, tinkering, getting the idea. A bus was going to need protection for the children. It was going to need to be strong enough to stand up. But he completed it. And it was sold to a man in Marshallville, Georgia, who had a contract with the Department of Education over there to transport students to schools. The man's name was Frank Slade. He used this Bluebird #1 for a number of years around Marshallville, Georgia, transporting children. The first bus had steel under the floor, all the way over, and a continuous bow all around to the other side. When he built this first bus, he did not have the time or the know-how to install windows. So they could use canvas for the curtains on the side. And this could be unsnapped. The canvas could come down here and be snapped on here, and it would protect the children in inclement weather. Bluebird #1 was first mounted on a Ford Model T chassis. And the Model T chassis had about 31 horsepower. The Model T had 3 pedals down at the bottom. They didn't have gear shifts. And one pedal put it in first. And one pedal put it in reverse. And the other pedal was the brake. And so when you wanted to get started, you mashed down the one pedal that put it in first, and you got up a little speed. And then there was a lever on the side, and threw it down, and that would put it in second. Father wanted a heavy piece of metal on the side of the bus. That was in case some other vehicle came in and hit the bus, it wouldn't come inside of the bus and hurt the children. And in those days, some children were being transported to school in the back of wagons pulled by mules or horses. There were no regulations. There were no specifications. My father used to tell this story about a man whose business was hauling hogs. And during the summer months, he used his truck to transport pigs and hogs to market. And then he'd have to wash it out, clean it up good. Then the next year, he would put some benches in there and transport children to school. I just am thankful that my father had the thought that he might be able to build that. He was not an engineer. He had the tenacity to stick with an idea and to see that it came to fruition. It's the start not only of building a bus, but it's the start of a company. The company has had wide influence, not only in Georgia and not only in the United States. We shipped buses to 50 different foreign countries because Bluebird #1 was started many, many years ago.